We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It's Thursday as you're listening to this, but we recorded it Wednesday night. I have the good fortune to have TJ with us, TJ the Plumber. You know him all from the show, from the lives, from the stuff he does. So I'm glad TJ had an opportunity to join us today. You know, we've got so much silly shit to talk about, and I was trying to think. Who's the one other sillier fucker I could get on this show other than myself? And you're the name that came up.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot going on today for sure. You know, I found it interesting that the Pentagon is opening up a new department. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't.
It's called the Department of Piracy. So we got some people running the show that can go and seize private vessels out of the sea and keep all the booty for themselves.
Well, that's the weird thing, and of course the story that TJ's talking about is we heard, if you're listening on the podcast yesterday, that apparently the U.S. military seized an oil tanker from Venezuela. I'm going, what the fuck does that have to do with drugs? What the fuck does that have to do with anything? And I said, you know, what are we, pirates now? We're just going to take over ships of countries we're mad at? And they tried to justify it by suggesting that there was some illicit oil going to the wrong place. Turns out this stuff was going to probably China or maybe Cuba or something. But that's what I don't understand about Donald Trump. He's in trouble for bombing boats, fishing boats in the Caribbean. He's got this double tap scandal that may come apart at the seam for Hegseth himself and everybody else. You would think he'd want to cool it a little bit, just pull it back a bit. But no, he just ramps that fucker up again.
Yeah, it is weird because this thing's right on the forefront of the news. I mean, it's not like it just is going away. And instead of like trying to tamp it down, and maybe he thinks it's a distraction that'll work. I don't know. That seems like a stupid idea to me. I mean, this whole thing, they're trying to say that that the ship moved sanctioned oil from Iran or something like that. You know that's absolute bullshit. It's just Donald Trump trying to fuck with Maduro. That's all it is. You know, trying to look like the tough guy again, trying to show what a strong man he is. It's a fucking joke, man. And that was like the worst thing he could have done. Like, there's a million other things that he could have probably come up with to try to distract away from the boat strikes, but this just amplified it. It's stupid.
But yeah, you know, the theory I have and other people have is that the reason he's doing these things with the boats, sending all the military down there, the Navy down there, and now doing this with taking an oil tanker, it's a way to try to pressure Maduro to leave. He wants Maduro out of there. And frankly, Maduro is a bad guy. I'm afraid, though, that if Maduro leaves, the guy that Donald Trump wants in there ain't going to be much better. So he's playing mafia, and he's doing all these things. Well, I sure hate to see something happen to your family. You know, he's trying to scare them or intimidate them like a mafia don would. But I think this all does come back to the oil issue. What he's looking to do, he suggested that if they got the Venezuelan oil, it would bring oil prices down. Oil prices aren't our problem right now. They will be later, but they aren't our problem right now. We've got other issues. But over and above bringing oil prices down, he wants to get a cut. He wants to get a taste. He wants to put his monkey in there and take his percentage. It's just unbelievable to me. I mean, it's clear as day because that's how he does business.
Yeah, but it's really more about him getting a cut than bringing down the price of oil because realistically, even let's just say hypothetically that we invaded Venezuela, we took control of the country, we took control of their wells and their leases and all that stuff. They still can only produce X amount of oil, you know, gallons or barrels per day. And that's right. They're probably producing at their, you know, somewhere near their top capacity, I'd imagine, you know, because that's heavy revenue for that country, right? Right. So I don't really see in Donald Trump's mind how he would figure that would lower prices because it's a world equity, so whatever the going rate is in the world, that's what it is. Venezuela doesn't, they have a lot of oil, but they're not, they can't go out and drill 100 new wells tomorrow and get them operational in a couple of days. It doesn't happen that way. So it's really more about him, being a mafia boss and trying to get a taste of the money than anything else.
It's like a protection racket,
Yeah.
with the mafia. They go into stores in their neighborhoods and say, listen, you're going to give us 20% of everything you make and we'll protect you. We'll make sure you don't get into trouble. It's really as simple as that. I mean, America produces more oil than anybody. It's not like we don't have enough oil. There's plenty of oil.
But
And
instead
like
of
you
getting
say, the prices are set in such a way where more oil isn't necessarily going to bring it down.
right, but instead of getting paid in cash, he's getting paid in meme coin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, one of the things that I found troubling too in this situation, while this has all been going on, this grift, I'm hearing that Don Jr. is making a whole shitload of money now too, which he couldn't do on his own if his dad wasn't the president. But he's setting up his kids to make shit tons of money illegally. Um, and it's frustrating that we sit and watch the Republicans in Congress just go, yeah, that's cool. No problem.
Right. Well, Barron Trump's net worth since January up until recently, his net worth increased $220 million. How the fuck does that happen? I want to know. And there's so many other things like this whole thing with these golden visas and the platinum visas. You got to pay $1 million for a golden visa, and then 5 or 2. Is it 2 or 5 million for the I think it's 5 million. 5 million for the platinum visa. Where's that money going?
Where's any of the money going? I mean, we talk about the tariffs and all this sort of stuff, and he claims 17 trillion. Other people say 50 billion. So we really don't know what's there. But if that money exists, why hasn't our debt gone down? Why hasn't? Why is it a big deal to extend the subsidies for the ACA?
Right.
He talked. My dad was like that. He talked about all the money he made, and then when I asked him for money for lunch, there wasn't enough.
Right. And, if we have all this money, if we have $17 trillion, which is half the national debt, why isn't that paid down? Where's these $5,000 Doge checks? Where's the $2,000 tariff refunds we're supposed to get? It's all fucking bullshit. They just keep lying and lying, and the Trump-la-fucks are like, oh, it's coming. Just you wait. We're going to get these checks. They just keep believing it, man. They get, bullshitted and bullshitted over and over again. It's just embarrassing. How could you not be embarrassed at this point? Being a Trump-la-fuck. I don't understand.
I said prior to the election in 2024, if you still stand with Donald Trump, you have to be an idiot. You have to be an absolute idiot. And now, with all that's come out, from Jeffrey Epstein to the deportations to all this shit, if you still stand with him, you're either not informed or you're evil or you're just flat out stupid. I heard somebody talking about something one time, and I think people on the Democratic side should take a note. There was an interview with a Somali leader in the United States prior to the election, and he says they were supporting Donald Trump, which is ironic now. And they said, why do you support Donald Trump? And they said, because he's a fighter. Because he's a fighter. They don't know what he was fighting for or what he wanted, but just by virtue of him being a fighter. Well, now, of course, this guy was interviewed. Now, he's not feeling it so much. Now, he was uninformed because everything he's going through now, we could have predicted back then, did predict back then. But people just want somebody up there screaming, talking, and fighting back. And that's what the Democrats need to change going forward. They need to be a little more aggressive than they have been because they're thought of to be weak.
Right. And it was the same thing with Cubans for Trump. Remember that shit?
Yeah.
How they all supported him, and now all of a sudden I wonder what changed. I can probably imagine what it is. You know, now that
The
people are
family
getting
members are deported.
right, getting grabbed off the street. Now, they never thought it would happen to them. And it's the same fucking thing.
There was a bill passed yesterday for it's going to the Senate, I think,
Mm-hmm.
for the Defense Department, the budget for the Defense Department. You know how much that is?
For the entire Defense Department,
Yeah,
probably
the entire
900 billion for the entire thing.
997 billion, almost $1 trillion.
That was close.
You want to hear something that's interesting? The next four closest to us: China with 314 billion, a third of what we're spending.
Mm-hmm.
Russia with 149 billion. Germany with 88 billion, and India with 86 billion. Why in the world would we need to spend 3 times or more than the 5 closest countries to us? Why would we need to do that? There's only one answer for it. It's just, again, a big grift for their
Right.
buddies who are in the military-industrial complex.
Yeah, it's the defense contractors that are ripping us off. I know that for a fact. They're charging us enormous amounts of money for products that they're paying very little than that for.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that R&D costs money. I get that, but they're just gouging us. It's not like they're giving us a reasonable price. They're giving it's way above the value of what we should pay, but they just don't police it or watchdog it, and that's why we're getting ripped off all the time. They need to create something, some kind of watchdog group that goes through that stuff, that has the highest security clearances, that like an inspector general that would actually go through and say, why does this cost this? Show me why on paper. Because go ahead.
Well, here's the ironic thing. We want to spend $1 trillion on defense, which is 3 times more than our closest competitor, being China.
Right.
We want to give $3 to $5 trillion in a tax cut to the wealthy.
Right.
We've added $3 trillion to the debt
Mm-hmm.
in 10 months, 11 months. But those ACA subsidies, we can't afford that, even though
Hell
we've been
no.
doing that for the last 10 years or so.
No,
We're not
no.
talking about raising the prices or getting more money or new money. It's just keeping going what's going on. And this is the big scam that they've been telling us, and Republicans have been telling people. We can't afford to help the middle class, but we don't want to talk about the tax cuts or the defense budget. This is the thing that has to get straightened out. People have to be called out on this, because it's really unbalanced toward the wealthy, and it's coming off the backs of the middle class and the poorer class.
Yeah, and Mike Johnson's the biggest fucking liar about it. They can
Yeah.
spend $1 trillion on defense, but we can't afford the subsidies for ACA for kids to have health care, to kick 15 million people off health care. It's absolute horseshit. It makes me sick, really, to think about that. They're like, oh well, we have a new plan, Mike Johnson. The thing that made me laugh the most about Mike Johnson is when he came out and said on camera, the Republican Party is the party of healthcare. And I about shit when he said that, because I thought to myself, what has happened in the past 60 years that the Republicans have done to make anything better for fucking healthcare? Nothing. Zero. They haven't done a fucking thing.
They've been talking about coming up with a health care plan for 15 years and have yet to present one.
Yeah, they got
And that
concepts.
says it all.
Concepts of a fucking plan. They don't have a fucking plan. And then when you bring it up to the, to them, those ACA subsidies that's socialism. I get sick of it. It just fucking makes me tired. The stupid people buy it too. It's sad.
Well, and it's stupid people on the Democratic side and the Republican side. I will say the Republicans have been very effective in their messaging and their narrative by saying, we can't afford to just give away government money. We're tight for money and we've got to save money. But nobody ever confronts them about where they waste ridiculous amounts of money for the wealthy and for defense and all this stuff. we've got to change the narrative and get people to understand what's really true. Because I guarantee you, I know Democrats that will say, "Yeah, I'm tired of people getting welfare, getting rich off my tax dollars." I tell you what, bitch, they aren't getting rich, but the rich are getting richer off your
Right?
tax dollars. That's what you need to understand.
Right, exactly. And they lie. They lie so bad about it. You know, they create this huge storm of misinformation. You know, undocumented immigrants are getting Medicaid. That's absolute baloney. They can't get Medicaid, and they try
No,
to spin the narrative so that these people actually believe that undocumented people are getting SNAP. They're getting, you know, uh, subsidized housing, like all this stuff that they can't get it. They're not eligible for Medicaid or SNAP or any of these programs. But the Republicans create that shitstorm and get them to believe that. So when they hear about the ACA subsidies getting canceled, they think that that's part of that whole thing. Oh, we're going to get these immigrants off of Medicaid. No, that's not how it works fucking at all.
no, it's not. And I can go back and listen to some Republicans who will go on and do an interview or something and say something as silly as, well, these immigrants come to town, they get free housing, they get a brand new car, they get money, they live a better life than we do because the government just hands them money. That is categorically just a fucking lie.
Right.
There's no way they could validate that or prove that because it's just not true. But still, people believe that shit.
Yeah.
They don't look into anything. They just listen to clickbait or whatever, and they buy into it.
Yeah, they act like they're given like one of the arguments I think I heard was they're given these prepaid credit cards with like $5,000. No fucking way is that happening anywhere. You know what I
No,
mean? And then here's another one that they say, oh, the immigrants come here and they put them up in luxury hotels. That is a big bullshit fucking story, because you know my wife Rebecca. Well, she has a business that is in elevators. Okay, so her company maintains a lot of elevators in New York City,
yeah,
and some of the elevators that she has contracts for are some of those hotels where the immigrants, when they bring them, they stay in these hotels. And all the employees, I've talked to them in person, they said those hotels are fucking dumps. He goes,
yeah.
they're terrible. The conditions are bad. They don't clean them well. There's, you know, they're full. They're not. It's not a good condition. It's not a luxury. The Roosevelt Hotel is not a fucking luxury hotel. Okay, it
No,
may have been in 1945. When today's America, it's a piece of shit. Okay, so this whole fucking narrative about they're staying in luxury hotels, it's a Fox News fucking bullshit story. It's crazy that like people just don't ever think or like go and say, hey, that doesn't seem right. Maybe I should look that up, but they fucking don't because they're too lazy.
my wife and I stayed in the Roosevelt Hotel in the early 80s because we were young. We went to New York City. We were going someplace after that to Turks and Caicos actually, and we stayed in the Roosevelt Hotel. And in the 80s, it wasn't a great place. It was cheap, so we did it. But it was very old. I mean, if you walked in there, you think, "Oh, this is nice. This is Art Deco." No, they just haven't changed it since Art Deco. What the
Right?
fuck it is? And the only story I was told about the Roosevelt Hotel, everybody told this story that Castro came to New York and stayed in the Roosevelt Hotel, but he was kicked out of the hotel because he brought chickens with him.
That's interesting. I never heard that. I
Yeah, I
believe
can't
it.
imagine what. Yeah, oh yeah, I believe it. I can't imagine what the Roosevelt Hotel looks like now. But well, here's what's ironic is is that they're complaining about putting immigrants in shitty hotels, right?
Yeah.
We're building units and taking up land to the tune of tens of millions of dollars to house detainees. I mean,
Right.
it's equally as shitty as the hotels, But it's ironic that they would bitch about that and then build these various detention camps or detention buildings and put those people in there. Uh, what difference does it matter which way we pay the money? We're still paying the money, and Donald Trump isn't moving as many deportees as Obama has. He's doing it horribly. He's doing it abhorrently, and this whole thing is just not going well. I think even some Republicans are starting to feel a little queasy about it.
Well, there's a difference between the camps and the hotels. The, the, the hotels, less people are disappearing from than the camps. So
Exactly.
that's the difference there.
Exactly. The you were talking about the healthcare, and I'm wondering what you think about this. We're getting down to nut cutting time here with the healthcare. The
Mhm.
end of December, if they don't extend the ACA, we're looking at people getting their premiums doubled, tripled, maybe even quadrupled. I mean, to the point where people just can't afford it. I
Right.
mean, if you're on a fixed income or you just don't make a lot of money, I heard a story that said somebody on TV was talking about it. Said that their health care now is $700, but if the ACA subsidies isn't extended, it's going to be up around $1,500. So
Right.
more than doubled what they're paying. People just
And,
can't afford that, so they won't have health insurance.
no, and I can personally relate to that, not myself per se, but when my mother had cancer, the only way that she could get health insurance was through the ACA.
Right.
So she got health care, an ACA plan, and it paid for all of her cancer treatments. It paid for them.
Right.
Even the experimental one. It extended her life. Like, she would have died far sooner had she not gotten those treatments. So, just imagine if that happened to my mother. Think about how many other millions of people are going to have a story like that, but it's going to be a sad story in the end because they're not going to have health care. They're not going to get the treatment or whatever they need to preserve their life with surgery or, some other type of, medical treatment. Just think about that. 15 million people, and probably, you know, based upon what we're hearing, maybe 80% of them can't afford it anymore. So
And, and,
that's a huge
and the fact
number.
is, yeah, and the fact of the matter is it's going to cost the government more than those ACA subsidies because what's going to happen, people are going to get sick and they're going to go to the emergency room and they're not going to be able to pay their bills. Then the government is going to have to pay the hospital.
Right.
So you don't want to extend the ACA subsidies, but the government's going to end up paying for a lot of shit, maybe more shit than being in those ACA subsidies. So
Right.
it's shit, it's just short-sighted. They're not looking past the end of their nose.
Right. And Donald Trump had the stupidest plan ever. Instead of giving the subsidies to people so they could buy their health care plan, we'll just give the money directly to them so they can buy their own health care plan. Well, he doesn't understand that the whole fucking point of having the ACA is so that the insurance companies can't fuck you over. Because if you have a pre-existing condition, they'll call anything a pre-existing condition. If you take a pill for blood pressure, they'll call that pre-existing and they won't insure you, you know? So the whole point of the legislation was to make sure that people who had pre-existing conditions couldn't get discriminated against. And with that, when that's gone, the insurance companies can just run roughshod over everyone.
And they will do anything to get out of paying for something. I think I've
Fuck
told
yeah.
this story. I've told this story before, but in the early '90s, my oldest son needed needed tubes in his ears. Okay,
Mhm.
and so we went in and had it checked out, and they said, "Yeah, we'll do the tubes in his ears, and we'll do it on this date, like 2 months out." Okay, cool. Now in that period, we had open enrollment. I had got my insurance through my job, which was the Minneapolis Public Schools. So when the enrollment time came, they didn't have my exact um, policy that they had when I first signed up. it was pretty much the same policy, but it had a different name. So I signed up for that. I take him in, gets his tubes done, and same company, same company, same
Uh-huh.
kind of. And after the kid had the tubes done, they called me up and said, yeah, we're not going to cover it because it was pre-existing. I said, what? I said, no. We had the same health agency. We just have a different plan because I didn't have the choice to stay in that plan. I had to make another choice that was comparable, which I did. They said, well, we're sorry, we can't help you. Now, you know me, I'm not going to just sit there and take it. I didn't have the money to pay it.
Right.
So I said to them, I said, listen, I work for the Minneapolis Public Schools. I'm guessing that that's maybe one of your biggest accounts with this health insurance company. I'm guessing we're one of the bigger accounts. And here's the other deal. I work for the radio station. I work for the radio station who is owned by the Minneapolis Public Schools. And every month we broadcast live the school board meeting, the people that decide who's going to be their health agency. And in that meeting, people have the opportunity to walk up and ask questions or do whatever. I said, I tell you what I'm going to do. These people that listen to the radio station know me. They like me. It's a radio station. I'm going to step up there and I'm going to tell this story to the school board on the radio. How do you think they're going to take that? I said, well, we'll call you back in a little bit. And they called me back and said, oh, yeah, we figured it out. We'll cover it. The point is they will run over you if they can do it.
Yeah.
You got to be able to have something to push them back. And fortunately, I did at that point. But Jesus Christ, these insurance companies will do anything they can to not cover your shit.
Right. And you hardly ever have leverage against them. Hardly ever.
No, no, definitely not. And that's what the ACA gives us,
Right.
leverage. I mean, you're a union leader. So if you've got a million people going to an insurance company and say, we want to cut a deal, or one person going, we want to cut a deal, who's got the leverage? The one guy's going to get shit on. The million people are going to get what they need to do. So the idea that Donald Trump is going to give us money, he doesn't even know how much money. I think he said like, give him like $2,000. Well,
Right.
in the illustration I gave you before, where somebody's insurance went up $100 a month, okay, that goes 2.5 months. What do you do then?
Right.
You're still fucked.
Yeah,
I mean, he doesn't even think about this shit.
and you're still giving the money to the insurance company. It's the same fucking thing, except for it's more expensive for you. It's really silly. And these insurance companies, I mean, health insurance and pharmaceuticals are probably one of the biggest scams in the country.
No
But
question.
the in talking about leverage, the more people in your unit, the better deal you get on insurance.
Right.
Which is weird because it's more people using it, but they're getting that premium every single month from the employer. So they cut your deal, and then they still lie to you. When you know want to negotiate because they want to kick you down with a 45% premium increase, and they come to you and they say, "Hey, listen. This is the best deal we can give you. This is the best deal." And then you go to a competitor and say, "Hey, give me an RFP for 1,200 people in our plan," and they come back with a number, and then your original insurer says, "Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
We'll call you back," and then they come back, "Oh, this is our final and best number." They just fucking lie to you.
You do. I learned this lesson early when I started working at the school district at the radio station doing traffic. Um, I started as they were just beginning civil service for the people working in the radio station. So I thought, okay, this is good. I'll get paid decently, maybe get some benefits. But because we were an odd group, they never had a group like this. They had to decide to put us in a union. So they put us in the fucking clerks union, which made no sense. It just happened to be the lowest union on the fucking page. And so the other problem is there weren't too many people like me. So when it came into the situation, I was in a segment in the clerks union where I was the only guy. So I couldn't do shit. I had to go up to people and say, listen, I'm the only one that's doing this, the radio station. Um, you got nobody to replace me because you can't even get somebody to fill in for me when I'm gone. So here's the deal. You give me this much money or I'm fucking gone. I'm going someplace else. And fortunately, the radio station was able to figure it out and pay me a decent amount of money and get this certain benefits. But that's the whole point. You need numbers. And what
Right.
Donald Trump is suggesting is the opposite of that.
Yeah, for sure. It is the opposite because you're out on your own trying to negotiate with you know, a corporation that they're just going to run you over. You know,
Yeah.
that's why what I just said a couple of minutes ago. The bigger you are as a unit, the better negotiating power you have, and that's true just about in anything. I mean, same thing
Yeah.
with unions. The more people that you have, the more bargaining power you have.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. I mean, if we're sitting in a room with me, my wife, and my granddaughter, if my granddaughter and wife want to do the same thing, we're doing that because I don't have
Yeah.
any pull at that point. I got no argument. I got. What do you think is going to happen with this healthcare thing? I mean, it's like everything they do. They cut it down to the last minute of the last day. I feel like they're going to extend the ACA because if they don't, it's going to be disastrous. But that's only if you consider that the Republicans aren't stupid and
Right.
won't double down. And we can't say they aren't stupid because they've done worse things than this.
Yeah, but this is different, I think now. They are stupid. I mean, we won't, disagree there. They are stupid, but they got a problem now because back in November they got their fucking ass kicked in the election. And now that they're playing these games with the ACA and people in their districts are starting to realize that they're about to get fucked on their health care, there's a lot of people pissed off calling their offices and bitching.
Yeah.
So, given that, all the pushback they're getting from their constituents, I have a feeling that at the witching hour, there's going to be some of the Trump loyalist ones that are never going to vote to do anything with it. We know that, you
Right.
know. But people like Massey and some of these other ones, they're realizing that if we let this happen, my constituents are going to run me out on a fucking rail. So I think the tide is turning a little bit with some of these House Republicans.
You know, you and I are smart enough. I mean, I wouldn't say we're Mensa material, but we're smart enough.
Hmm.
All this stuff that's going on with Donald Trump and the Republicans, the effects that it's going to have on the midterm election, I'm willing to bet we would have seen this a year ago prior to Donald Trump coming in. We know what could happen. And now these fuckers are coming down to the last minute, and it's a matter of whether they see it or not. How the fuck do they not see it? Are they just so scared of Donald Trump, or are they that stupid? I think some of them are that stupid. But all the things that are happening that can affect the midterms, I would have caught on to this a little ahead of time as opposed to waiting before we were on the verge of disaster.
Well, some of them are stupid, but some of them are fucking evil. Like Jim Jordan,
Yeah.
he's fucking evil. I mean, the he's a creep. He's a complicit, sex offender. Basically, he's complicit in
Right.
those crimes. So, some of them are just evil and some of them are stupid. And so, I just some of them that have three brain cells instead of one are realizing, and I said this before, I never thought I'd ever see the day where I'd agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's fucking insane. You
Yeah.
would have if you would have said that to me 3 years ago, I'd have laughed in your fucking face.
Absolutely.
But some of them are starting to realize that this, they're not. they finally see that they don't want to go off the cliff with Donald Trump, and that's why some of them are waking up. You know, just like this thing, the Senate stuck on Hegseth in the budget. They cut his travel expenses because of all the shit that's going on. So
Yeah, all the, they want to get the video, and they said, well, if you're not going to give us the video, we're going to cut 25% of your travel expenses. To me, that seems a lot like Schumer's "I'm going to write a strongly worded letter." If
right,
you're going to push the fuckers, don't be a pussy about it. Shut the guy down. Impeach the motherfucker. So I understand that there's articles of impeachment for Hegseth and RFK Jr. So we'll see where if that goes anywhere. I mean, Mike Johnson certainly isn't going to do it. But what are you thinking about Mike? I'm thinking Mike Johnson isn't long for this world as a Speaker of the House. I think he's got way too many problems, and I don't think he's handling it well mentally.
no, but what are they gonna do? They're shit out of luck. Like last time when they tried to elect a speaker, they went through what 14 votes or something like that. They couldn't elect
Yeah.
anyone. You know, and you know Kevin McCarthy even said they wouldn't get a new speaker if Johnson was out. I mean, they look at the people that ran, like Jim Jordan. They run him out real fast. You know, who would they elect? Would it be another one of these no-namers? Because until Mike Johnson became Speaker of the House, nobody even knew who the fuck he was.
No,
So, I
no.
mean, that's kind of like where I'm at. Who are they going to get? They struggled to just, to get him. So what's their next move?
Well, who's going to walk into a guaranteed shit show and a guarantee of losing your position as Speaker of the House within a year?
Right.
Who's going to do that? Nobody in their right mind would do that.
The
Mike Johnson even said something too. You were talking about Mike Johnson saying things that are just flat out lies. I saw him on television actually absolutely say that this session of the House of Representatives is the most productive in history. As far as I know, they've only passed one bill, the big beautiful bill. How is it the most productive? What the fuck are they doing?
they haven't done anything. They haven't. Well, up until late, they only were in session like 8 days since July. What the fuck? They're not doing anything. How is that making progress? Passing one bill and being, up until recently only in session 8 times across the summer. That's fucking bullshit. It's just
So
it's
so
another
yeah,
media blitz
it's
stupid thing. Yeah.
so. Would you say we're in agreement that it somehow, some way, at the very least, they will extend the ACA subsidies at least a year, maybe 2 years before the deadline? You
I'll
agree with that?
say I agree with it, but they're going to do it at the witching hour. It's going to happen at the very last second possible.
And then the Republicans will step up and say, "We're heroes. We did this."
Yeah, exactly. So they can run back and claim victory for things they didn't do, like the infrastructure bill.
We saved you from all the anxiety that we created in the first place by giving you what we should have given you 4 months ago. It's just, it's so typical of Republicans uh, behaving like that. Everything they do is paramount, and everything that Democrats do is um, borderline stupid. Now, Mike
Well,
Johnson, do you think they'll get rid of him before? Well, it doesn't matter if they get rid of him after the midterms because he'll be out of the job anyway.
I I don't think so because I think they know they're going to be sitting ducks if they get rid of them. They're not going to be able to put anyone in there. The only plausible situation I think they'd have is to get someone to that they could halfway agree on that's going to retire next year because they know they're done anyway. You know what I mean? And that person that's not going to care because they're retiring anyhow. So if they get run out of Speaker of the House at the end of the year, so what? Right? That's the only
Well, and
plausible path they'd have.
well, there's another option for Mike Johnson. He could resign the position. He could resign the position
Yeah.
easily enough, and the pressure's been pretty hard, and weak ass grinder Mike seems to be kind of melting under the pressure. You see him walking the hallways doing interviews. He doesn't know what the fuck hit him half the time. And then having to deal with Donald Trump on a regular basis and having to kiss his ass all day. I can't believe anybody would want to do that And Mike Johnson looks like he's about had enough at this point.
Yeah, he looks like he got run over by a bus.
Yeah.
And every time he gets on TV and he starts lying, his face turns so red because he knows he's full of shit. You know, and just like you said about them coming back and saying, "Hey, we're the heroes. We got the ACA subsidies, back on." But the funny thing is, the Trumple fucks are like they take that and say, "Thank you, sir. May I have another?" Like they're too dumb to figure out that they should have got it anyway, and they didn't do anything for them except for try to take it away.
Well, Mike Johnson may have made a mistake when he was just a representative. He was under the radar. Nobody knew who he was. Now he's in the front pages all the time. He's making mistakes. He's looking stupid. He's looking. Republicans are starting to dislike him. I was talking to who was I talking to about this? They were saying the women in the Republican caucus are revolting. Nancy Mace, Marjorie Taylor Greene, um, what's her name? Paula Luna, whatever the fuck her name is.
Yeah,
They're all they don't like how they're being treated by the Republicans. Did you not read the Project 2025? Bitches, you're
exactly.
second class citizens to them. You're just now realizing they're not going to treat you well? Do they put you head of any commissions? Do they put you in leadership? No, they don't. And now you finally get it?
Right. It took them that long to figure it out. I mean, really, I don't think any of them is chair of a committee. I don't think any woman is
No, I
of,
don't think so.
of any committee at all. Which is, now they're finally realizing this, that they're getting treated badly. Well, there's probably other things that are going on behind the scenes that they're treating them badly too. I imagine that just because of the misogyny in
Well,
the Republican Party.
it's like Erica Kirk trying to take over for Charlie Kirk in Turning Point USA. Ain't gonna work.
No,
Well, she's cute. She was married to their boy King, but she's still a woman. So
right.
why would anybody follow her? And apparently everything's fallen apart with Turning Point USA. It's not doing well at this point. Not surprising.
Well, that's a maneuver that JD Vance tried to take too. When right after that happened, JD Vance went on and hosted his podcast. And
Yeah.
I think the reason why he did that is he thought that maybe he could capture that audience a turning point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and get good favor from them. I don't think it fucking worked, but
No, it didn't.
he was definitely trying to make a move to capture the Charlie Kirk audience.
Well, the thing about Charlie Kirk, and I was thinking about this, everybody talks about who's the heir apparent to Donald Trump, and there really isn't one in politics right now. Charlie Kirk was a racist, misogynist, anti Semitic. He was every possible negative thing you could possibly be, but he was articulate enough and he was
Right.
charismatic enough, at least for that group of people. I think they were looking at him as maybe an heir apparent down the road. He was still too young to run for president or anything, but
Right.
but he was somebody down the line they could look at, um, and he could draw an audience. J.D. Vance cannot draw an audience. There is
Right.
nobody in the Republican Party that can draw an audience. Nobody is charismatic that talks to those people. So J.D. Vance, Erica Kirk, none of these people are going to make this shit happen at all. It's just not possible. Um, and Mike Johnson is kind of that same ilk too, kind of this real religious, hiding in the closet kind of motherfucker. And eventually, it's all going to come out. They're going to be exposed for who they are, and it's going to be absolute destruction for their careers.
Right. Well, you know, don't you think that this is the way I look at it anyway? The Trumplefucks don't respect JD Vance
No,
because
they hate him.
he pretends to be, he's from the country, which he's not. We all know that he's from, suburban Ohio. It's all a bunch of bullshit. He's not from a rural town or whatever. All a bunch of bullshit. So they don't respect him because they view him as an elite. So he can
Yeah,
never.
and he is.
Right. He could never capture that MAGA, focus, just like the way that Donald Trump does. But the weird thing about Charlie Kirk is. Charlie Kirk is far more was far more articulate than Donald Trump. He
Oh
could
yeah.
speak. He could speak really well, and he could use, words that had more than two syllables in them, which is kind of weird because a lot of the MAGAs, when you talk to them, they're like, "Well, I just like the way that Donald Trump speaks," and that tells you everything you need to know right there, right? Because they Donald Trump speaks their language, but Charlie Kirk was kind of like a little more, slick and a little more articulate. So I
Yeah.
find it weird that he was kind of like on that direction of maybe being that heir apparent to Donald Trump because he wasn't really he didn't really fit the mold that way. I guess is the way I'm looking at it.
No, he didn't. On a previous show, I read somebody's text,
Yeah.
and they'd heard somebody had a nickname for Charlie Kirk.
Oh,
Um, did you hear that?
yeah. I heard the joke.
Um,
I listen.
I'm just checking to make sure I can find it online. Okay, yeah. If you go on Google and just put Charlie Kirk gums, you'll understand this joke. And the joke is he has uppercase gums and lowercase teeth. He's got some big, that motherfucker smiles. You don't know what you're looking at. If it's a fucking jack-o'-lantern or whatever. But uh, speaking of Donald Trump and his inability to articulate anything, you had the good fortune of having Donald Trump in your home state of Pennsylvania yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah,
Did
he
you
was.
watch? You just watched the clips like I did, right?
Yeah, I couldn't bring myself, and I was driving. I was on the road anyway, but I couldn't bring myself to pull over and watch any of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I watched the clips, and he's up in the Poconos at a casino. I forget what the name of it is, but
Just
he's
the
in a.
idea of a president, just the idea of a president having an event at a casino is like having a 70s band doing a show at the casino. Why is the president doing a show at a fucking casino?
Well, he does like to put them out of business, so maybe it felt kind of homey for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose. I suppose.
So he's in a room with a couple hundred people, and some of the clips, his his talking points and stuff, it was so disconnected from. He was all over the place. It was like worse than ADHD. It didn't make it like I have ADHD and I'm a train wreck sometimes, but like it was so incoherent what he was saying, and then he's making noises up there. Like I was embarrassed. Like how could anyone sit there in that group or watching it on TV and take that seriously? I mean, he's obviously got some cognitive problems, and he had whether he's sundowning or what was going on there, but he was not well. He was not well in that speech.
No, his voice sounds different, more raspy, more breathy. He clearly was not on track with his mind, and he doesn't prepare anything. Occasionally, somebody will write for him, and he can sound okay, but he'll always go off script, or if he just doesn't have a script in the first place, he is just bouncing around everywhere. And I'll tell you, in my mind, the reason he's doing this rally, and he'll probably do other rallies, because he's now realizing that the midterms are fucked. And if the midterms go badly, his presidency is pretty much over. He won't be able to do anything if the Democrats get control of the House and maybe the Senate. He's done. There will be nothing happening. And so he's getting nervous about it. I think in addition to that, he wanted to prove, he wanted to sell the people on the idea that prices are in fact going down, even though anybody in that crowd went to a grocery store, they would know otherwise. And secondly, I think he's starting to get butthurt about people talking about his cognitive abilities. So he wanted to prove them all wrong by going up there and dazzling him. But in true Donald Trump form, he accomplished just the opposite.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. It's so weird because a couple of days back, well, maybe more than a couple of days, but he's talking about how the word affordability is a Democrat hoax. And then he's going up there and saying he's bringing all the prices down and they're all coming down. Yeah, show me a place in Pennsylvania where you can get $1.99 fucking gas. That ain't happening.
Yeah.
It's all bullshit, But it's so weird. He's saying affordability is a hoax, and then now he's saying he campaigned on making things affordable, and now he's back at it. Going up there and saying prices are coming down. Nobody believes that. Anyone who has a checkbook or a debit card and goes to the fucking grocery store knows the motherfucking prices aren't going down. I mean, come on now.
You can tell he's losing it right now. He recently did a Truth Social and was the whole Truth Social in caps was about all the great things he did and how he's the greatest president and lowest prices in history and the best economy in history.
Yeah.
He feels like he needs to go to Truth Social to say this stuff to try to change the narrative.
Right.
But it's not working. I mean, that's where narcissists end up. They keep trying to tell you, don't believe what you see, just believe what I tell you. And now that it's costing people real money and putting them in bad situations, nobody's buying this shit.
But I almost wonder, I almost have to wonder at this point if he actually believes it. Like, I honestly think that he's so bad, he's so far gone, that he's being told this stuff every day by all of his, cronies that are in the White House. They're telling him, oh yeah, prices are going down, Donnie. You're doing such a great job. Things are becoming affordable. Inflation's down. The Fed's going to lower interest rates. He's being fed all this stuff. He doesn't live in reality like you and I and everybody else. I mean, I would say that Donald Trump's probably never been to a grocery store in his life, right?
Probably.
So,
well, he didn't even know the word groceries existed until a few months ago. So fuck.
Yeah, well, it's an old-fashioned word, but I would say that I think it's possible that he actually is being fed this stuff and he believes it. Like, he wholeheartedly thinks that he's doing a great job because he's being told by his yes men every single day, like Marco Rubio and all these other clowns, that he, you're doing a great job, things are coming down. He's being told this, but I think that he really actually believes it. I don't think it's an act anymore.
I think to some extent that's true, that he believes it because he's being fed misinformation. Because he's not somebody who studies anything or reads anything. People just go on and tell him, and then he throws it out there. But there is an exception to that. Now, one of the ways that I've been seeing Donald Trump starting to break is when people start asking not even tough questions, just legitimate questions, and him going off on these women. Oh, you're a piggy. You're a horrible reporter. You're the worst reporter ever.
Right.
But either his mind is gone and he's in full dementia. The situation where we were talking about the double tap, he was in a press conference. He was asked about the video, the second video, and he said, I would have no problem with releasing the videotape of the double tap. Then when he's on, was 60 Minutes, no, it was Politico or something. He's on Politico. And the woman says, are you still looking to, you have no problem actually this was a press conference too. You have no problem with releasing the videotape. And he said, I never said that. Well, the video's been playing every day, all day for the last several days that when he just said it. Now, either he forgot or he's just flat out lying, because he absolutely did say it. And then he just tried to push it away as quickly as he could and say, well, whatever Pete Hegseth wants to do. If I'm a reporter there, oh, Pete Hegseth is running this situation. We'll talk to him. If you're not running this situation and you don't know anything about it, that would fuck with his head. No, I'm in control. Okay, well then, are you going to release the videos? I think he's at a stage where he's so confused and so flustered, he doesn't know what he's saying half the time. But I do think he is woefully misinformed. They're just playing him every day.
Right. And I agree with you. But I honestly think that he did not remember that he said that. That's why he said, I never said that. Because he doesn't. I don't
That
think
could
that.
be.
Because, you know, there's one consistent thing about Donald Trump. No one can fucking tell him anything. If he decides something, like, it doesn't matter if Marco Rubio or Caroline Levitt or any of these motherfuckers tell him, hey, don't say this, don't talk about, he's gonna do it anyway. You're not gonna stop him. And it's probably worse now that he's having these problems, these issues, falling asleep in the press conferences, and it's probably getting worse. And he's probably getting more agitated at the same time because, things are fucking up so bad, and he doesn't think it's him; it's everybody around him.
Well, that's typical of narcissists. They're the best, they're the smartest, they're the toughest. Everybody else is wrong. Because I said it, it's got to be true.
Right.
And that's just the mental disability they have. I've seen it 100 times with narcissists I've known. You can't tell them they're wrong, even if you can show them. And if you show them they're wrong, then they get mad and call you piggy or you're the worst reporter ever. That's once they get caught, they go into fight mode. And then when fight mode doesn't work, they go into flight mode. They get the fuck out of there because they're cowards. And this is one of the things I'm wondering what's going to happen as Donald Trump continues to he's going to get worse physically. He's going to fall asleep more. He can't help but put himself in front of the cameras. He's going to come off worse. I mean, I know the Republicans, I heard some Republicans say, well, I don't know if that speech he did in the Poconos really landed as like we expected. Like you expected. Have you never talked to Donald Trump? This went exactly like you would expect. But you thought he could go out there and pull it out and save the day again. Sorry, those days are gone.
Right, exactly. And and I think that's part of the reason why now some of them are breaking away from him. The cracks are forming on the
Yeah.
outside now. And some of the Republicans are like, "Hey, we better jump off this train before it goes off the cliff because it's going to." And their legacies will be tied to Donald Trump. And you know that amounting to their future as people in Congress and what their constituents are calling and screaming about in their offices right now, that's probably putting a lot of pressure on these people to say, hey, enough's enough. We need to walk away before it's too late.
Yeah. I think you and I, if somebody talked to us in 2020 or 2021 when Biden took over, we would have said, yeah, the Republicans will latch on to this. Donald Trump will keep failing and doing crazy, stupid, egregious, legal shit, and they'll just walk away from him. And now it looks like they're going to walk away from him. But
Mhm.
never in my wildest dreams did I think it'd take fucking 5 years to do it.
Oh, no
Uh,
way.
Are they oblivious or what?
I just think they were indifferent about it. They're in power. Donald Trump's their leader, so they were just indifferent about it. And they said, you know, he does crazy shit. We're not really doing it. It's him. But there's probably a moment where they find it's a point of no return. Where they're going to be tied to him when everything crashes. And I think that we're at that crossroads now where they're saying, hey, this is finally becoming a bridge too far because Donald Trump is, outwardly having people commit crimes, and there's going to be accountability down the line. And if we're sticking with him, we're going to look bad too when all this stuff comes out.
Well, and I think part of it is too that they have nothing else. They caught fire in the lightning in a bottle when he went up against Hillary Clinton and he actually won.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump and every Republican around him didn't think he was a serious candidate. They didn't
Right.
think he was going to win. All you have to do is go back to half the people on his cabinet. They all talk shit about him way back when. And then he won. And that's all they've got. Think about any other Republican who could take over for the cult or create that kind of stir for the Republican Party. Without Donald Trump, Hillary would have probably been president. I mean, who would? Jeb Bush? Jeb Bush was going to beat Hillary? I doubt it.
No way.
And in in 2024, Marco Rubio going to beat Kamala? I doubt that too.
Right.
So they had lightning in a bottle with Donald Trump, and for whatever reason, people latched onto him. Dumb people latched onto him, and that
Yeah.
was their only hope to win anything. So they had to stick with the girl that brought, or the girl that came with them to the dance. That's all they have.
That's all they have. And it's a pig with lipstick. And it's so funny that all the people that talk so much shit on him, like Marco Rubio talked tons of shit on him during the election. Now he's the Secretary of State. JD Vance called him America's Hitler and he's vice president. I mean, they all talk shit on him like bad. And he, he rewarded them. I'm sure he got something out of it. It wasn't for free because Donald Trump doesn't do anyone a fucking favor. I mean, let's be real.
No, TikTok is quickly becoming a place for AI bots and TikTok shop fucking commercials. It really is. They're
Yeah.
destroying the app. But there's a creator or a company that creates it, and it has to do with the Stoic theory. There's Stoicism and you
Hmm.
know uh, Marcus Aurelius and all this stuff. And there was a quote that perfectly, I don't know if they meant to do it this way, but this perfectly defines who Donald Trump is. And it said basically, too much attention makes a donkey believe he's a fucking lion. And that's exactly what we're dealing with here. We're looking at somebody who is a donkey, who thinks he's the king of the jungle. And in the real sense, at the core, he's not. He's a joke.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right about TikTok. It's really going downhill. Like every other time you swipe, it's an advertisement or it's TikTok shop. Like every other video, it's getting really bad.
Yeah, it is.
It's really circling the drain. If you ask me, there is something, and I imagine that you've seen this in your FYP because we probably see a lot of the same things. I imagine, but I don't know if it's Lincoln Project that does it or who does it, but they do those animated videos about the fat orange monster. Have you seen those?
Yeah, yeah. I think
Those
I
are
have that.
those are great. If I land on one of those, I watch it to the end every single time because the stories in there are so good. It's just I love those.
My wife doesn't watch TikTok, but she watched Reels and some Instagram stuff.
Hmm.
And there's something that comes up on TikTok all the time that comes up on all of those things. And these people are just grifting money, and it's really pretty shitty how they do it. You will you will open the video will open up in a scene where a little kid is sitting in a hospital bed, tubes in their nose, and uh, giving a perfectly articulated speech as she's dying of cancer and saying, I just need you to stay with me for 22 seconds so I can pay for my cancer treatments. And it looks all real because it's a real, but it's fucking AI. My wife showed it to me and she says, oh, this is terrible. I can't watch this. I go, it's AI, Cindy. It's fucking AI. You can
Right.
create almost anything with the right kind of AI. And this is the problem. We're going to get people constantly asking for money. I mean, that's the other thing you see on TikTok a lot now. Everybody
Yeah.
asking for money. And I don't give anybody money unless I know exactly what it is or what it's going to. I got people coming to my DMs saying, "Oh, I've got this person who's got a TikTok account and they're trying to raise money. Would you put this out for us?" No,
No.
sorry if I seem like a dick, but I don't know anything about you.
Right. Yeah. That's something I would never do either. I'm not a creator like that, but I wouldn't do that. I mean, how do you know that that person's not up to something, nefarious? You don't know that. You know what I mean? And probably these videos where they're grifting money, it's probably Don Jr. and one of his companies that's probably making those AI videos to grift
Yeah, no
everybody.
shit. I think the thing that's kind of soured me on TikTok, we always had those imposter accounts.
You got
I
a
haven't
big
seen this.
one. You got a
That's my
big one.
point. Yeah.
183,000 followers. It tried to add me the other day, and I just blocked it. But man,
I mean, I'd see guys with 2,000, 5,000, ten
Right.
thousand, but when somebody showed me this, I go, 183,000 followers. That took me 2 years to get.
Right.
I get about 100,000 a year. That's what I've gotten over the 5 years. And this guy's got 183,000 by just taking my shit. So then you go complain to TikTok and they go, no violation. I said, they're taking my name, they're taking my face, they're taking all the information for my PO box and everything. They're taking all my videos, and that's not a violation. That sounds like copyright. I mean, I don't
Right.
have a copyright on Rational Boomer per se, but own the uh, I do own the domain rationalboomer.com, and I've done a few other things. It just never seemed to me that anybody was going to rip off my name. Why would you want to fucking do that? But TikTok has become kind of a cesspool after a while. I'm going to keep doing TikTok only because I have a lot of followers and I don't want to just abandon them. But it's so much easier to come to YouTube. That's why I tell people. I said, I got people that buy subscriptions to my TikTok. Go, don't
Hmm.
do that. I'm never asking you for money. I'll never ask you for money. And I'm not saying that people that do ask for money are bad. That's just I'm not going to do that.
Right.
But if people really want to support me in some way financially, the best way you can do it is don't watch my shit on TikTok. Watch it on YouTube or Spotify because they will actually pay me something commensurate to what they're making off the shit. TikTok, all they want to do is have you sell TikTok shop stuff so the listener pays me. I don't want the listener to pay me. I
Right.
want the fuckers making money off me to pay me.
Exactly. And, I've heard that from other creators that say, it used to be good to be in the creator fund, but now they're just fucking you over. Like they're not, like Tony Michaels makes more money elsewhere than he does on TikTok. That's why
Oh yeah.
he doesn't really do that much on TikTok. I see Tony Michaels more on Meta than I do on TikTok.
Yeah, and he's on YouTube too. And Tony's in it. He's a young guy. He's in it to make the money. And I never got into it to make the money. But if other people are making money off me, I want my cut. That's just
Right.
that's just it. I mean, we can always use extra money, but I'm not going to go and have Patreon and do all this stuff. And
No.
now, like Will on Substack has a subscription you can pay money to.
Hmm.
Will's a different situation, and Will does a great job. He does a great job on the podcast. He does a great job on Substack,
Yeah.
and he's not saying you have to be a paid subscriber, but if you want to be, I mean, fuck, I got subscribers on Substack, and I never asked them for subscribers, and then when
Hmm.
they come up, they'll pitch it like some people came to me and says, I can't afford your Substack. I go, it's free. They go, but they told me I got to pay this or pay that or do. No, you don't have to pay shit.
No.
People who need the money and want to do it that way, I'm all for it. I'm all about getting as many people as I can. And there are people that can't afford to give you $10 a month. I don't need their $10 a month.
Right. Exactly.
It's it's uh, it's frustrating, and we kind of went off on a tangent here. So um, we've been hearing about the prospect of all these people resigning. Now, this last election day didn't go very well with the mayor of
No.
Miami and some state house stuff in Georgia. A lot of Republicans are losing where they should have had no problem winning. Do you think we're getting to that point where we're going to get maybe 20 people to resign? Republicans?
Yeah, probably. I think they're starting to see the writing on the wall since they got spanked in November, and then again in these special elections. Um, I th- I don't think the mayor of Miami's been a Democrat for like 25 years or something.
Yeah,
Like,
about 30.
yeah. So that that's a bad indicator for the Republicans. They've got to be like running around with their hair on fire right now because if they're getting crushed already, they have to know that that's a precursor to what's going to happen to them in the midterm elections. particularly as Donald Trump becomes more of a criminal and more unhinged. I mean, it's just going to be, this is just a taste of what they're going to get. And I agree with Eric. I mean, I think they lose the House by 30 seats. I think that's realistic in the
if
midterm
not
elections. Right. At
if not
least,
more.
yeah, I would say 30 is reasonable, you know, like a really reasonable guess. And it could be more. You're right. It absolutely could be. And the Senate's kind of a different story. I think that they'll take the Senate back, but not by a huge amount of seats. It'll probably be by 2 or 3. But I may be surprised. I've been wrong before. But
Yeah, if they take it at all, I'm happy.
yeah,
To take the House by a significant amount. Some people say as many as 60 in the House. That's why when everybody gets all weirded out about these gerrymandering things that Donald Trump is attempting to do, he can't gerrymander enough to win. And what we found out in Tennessee is there is no district, no state more gerrymandered than Tennessee. That
right.
gerrymandering took it from a 22% margin to a 9% margin. Now, we didn't win there, but we've got dozens and dozens of Republicans who won by 0 to 4% margins, 4 to 10% margin. And if that plays out the same way, there's a ton of them that are going to lose if there's that much of a exodus from the Republican Party.
Yeah, that one race that just ran, it was Trump plus 22. And then when the results came in, it was only by like 7.5 points or 8 points.
Yeah, 8.5
So
points. Yeah,
8.5. Yeah, you're right. But that's exactly what's going to happen. And this whole thing with Texas, you know, everyone's going nuts because the Supreme Court said that they can go ahead and move forward with changing their maps. That may not work in their favor
no,
because if they spread themselves too thin in districts they think are safe, they might get surprised because they could lose if they make those numbers too small where they're in the single digits.
well, that's the gerrymandering thing would work if they could count on the turnout and the support in 2024.
Right.
But things have changed. People are losing health care. People are getting deported. People's businesses are getting shut down. Farmers are going out of business. There's a lot of Republicans that may not vote for Democrat, but they just may not vote at all. And that's just as damaging for the Republicans.
Right. I think they went with the pretense that when Donald Trump ran, lots of Republicans came out to support him. But then when we had the off-cycle election, even in my county, like the numbers for Republican voters on their turnout was way down. Like the county executive race she beat the incumbent Republican by, it had to be, I don't know, I think it was 20 points. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So it's just, they're really in a bad position and they know it. And, I'm sure that Greg Abbott, is making promises to them, telling them, oh, we'll save seats, but it's not going to matter. It's all for nothing. And I think it's hilarious that the citizens of California voted to temporarily gerrymander their state to undo what they're trying to do in Texas. I think that's the best thing that's happened in years. I mean, they put it on the ballot, and the citizens of the state said, you know what? Yes, let gerrymander our state so we get more seats to, block Texas from doing this. I think that's amazing. Like that just really, that's like solidarity there. You know what I mean? They're all coming together and saying, hey, this is temporary. And they were transparent about it. Gavin Newsom said, hey, we're going to do this. It's not permanent. We just need to, adapt to what they're trying to pull with this nonsense with gerrymandering. And it passed. It was like a really big turnout for that thing too. It's impressive.
Well, the mayoral election in Miami should send a red flag to the Republicans, because in the previous mayoral election, the Republican won won by 67%.
Wow.
Won by 67%. Okay. And there hadn't
Oh,
been a Democrat in that job for 30 years. This time around, the Democrat won by 20%. So that is an 87% fucking swing in Donald Trump's home state. That's got to get people a little nervous at this point.
right. Which it probably, like we had mentioned earlier, is going to result in some people from Congress resigning. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't want to be embarrassed. They waited too long to, try to get off the Trump train, and it's too late now. And I guess I don't blame them. I mean, things have gotten so bad. How could you save face? These people aren't even going to town halls with their constituents because they're getting beat up. Figuratively, they're getting beat up so badly in their town hall meetings.
And what people don't understand is there have been a lot of Republicans already saying they're not going to run for reelection
Right.
already, over and above what else is to come. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene did something different. She's not going to run for reelection, but in fact, she's going to resign her job on January 5th, which is a day after she qualifies for the pension. Oh, big surprise. Um, but I think she did that because, like the other women in the Republican Party, they're getting tired of being treated like shit, and she wanted to stick it to the Republicans.
Right.
Now, the question is, if there are 20 more people that resign, how many of them are pissed off enough to just walk away before the election? Because that could have a serious impact on anything the Republicans want to do in the uh, in the House of Representatives between now and the midterms. It may not give control to the Democrats necessarily because you need 218, but if
Right.
they don't have 218, nothing gets done.
Well, they're
Uh,
they're dead in the water at that point.
yeah. What's the point where these people say, okay, enough, I'm going to resign? Or are they just waiting till after the Christmas holiday and saying, I'm done on January 6th or January 20th or whatever? Um, and the thing about it is if they resign before the election, then they have to have a special election. But by the time you have a special election, 3 months, 3 months down the road, now you're going to elect somebody who's only going to be in office like 8 months. Who's going to run for that?
Right. Yeah.
Because they're going to
Uh,
have to they're going to have to run for reelection again 8 months later when the actual time comes.
yeah, but the Democrats may like that though, because
Oh
they
yeah,
can run their people in there, and then if they're an incumbent, that even in the short amount of time, it may work out for them. You know what I mean? So that may work in the Democrats' favor, but these, Marjorie Taylor Greene and some of these motherfuckers that are down there, they're going to be fine because I'm sure she got her $10 million in insider trading that she invested, when she came to Congress with not a pot to piss in, right? So she'll be fine with, cashing in her investments, I'm sure. But yeah, in the end, I would expect that probably as things get worse in the next few months, which they will with Donald Trump, they're probably
yeah,
going to be dropping like flies out of Congress. They're going to be resigning, and you're probably right about January 6th. They'll probably, some of them will drop off right then and there, but I think that it'll be, you know, a group of them, and then one here, one there, one here, one there. You know what I mean? It'll go out through, months throughout the beginning of the year.
yeah. I'm checking AI for what is the potential pension. Um, Key pension factors: years of service must be 5 years. Average high three salary currently $174,000. Um, the rate for congressional service is 1.7% for the first 20 years of service and 1% for each year beyond that. By law, um, 6 years, it's approximately $17,000, $30,000 for 10 years, and $60,000 for 20 years. So a lot of these people could resign and get, maybe have been there 20 years and get 60 grand a year for the rest of their life, paid
Right.
for by us. That's
And
fucking wonderful.
and free health care for life. But we
Yeah.
can't. But
Yeah.
we can't have fucking ACA subsidies for people who really fucking need it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other the other positive for the Democrats in this thing is something that Eric always brings up. These are people that maybe have been in this office for a while and they leave. There is no more name recognition. It levels the playing field a little bit for the Republicans and the Democrats because nobody really knows who either one of them are. Plus, you throw in the fact that the Republicans have fucked up the economy, so this will definitely work against the Republicans. And it's pretty common if somebody, if they think they're going to lose big in the midterms, whatever party is in that position will, a lot of people will resign because they just don't want to go through that whole process and be embarrassed
Yeah,
and spend the money.
the only place where the name recognition thing wouldn't happen is with Chuck Grassley, Eric's senator, because I guess
Yeah.
his grandson is the heir apparent. But that doesn't always mean everything with the name recognition, because look at what happened in Pennsylvania. Bob Casey lost the Senate race to Dave McCormick, and Casey's
Yeah.
been in there a long time, and his dad was governor, for a
Yeah.
long time. So his name's been out. They have the same name. So his name, that name's been out there forever. It's not it's an edge, but it's not an end all be all to making sure you stay in office.
Well, I will tell you this: the heir apparent to the rational boomer empire will be my 5-year-old granddaughter and my 6-month-old grandson, and they're going to fuck some things up 25 years from now.
Yeah,
I've often said I can picture my grandkids, when they're like 30, 35 years old, and the internet's a different world, but somehow they come across a ridiculously sizable tranche of videos of their grandpa, who's now long since dead, talking this shit on the internet. I love to
right.
be there when they see that. I don't know what the fuck they will think. Um, so, so we could theoretically, if we get the resignations anytime soon, we could go the next 3 years where virtually zero, other than CRs and stuff, get done in Congress. Because once the Democrats are in the House, and if they have the Senate too, even if they pass something, there's no way Donald Trump's going to sign it. The only way
No,
around that is a supermajority, and that probably won't happen. So
no.
nothing will happen, save for investigations and hearings and that sort of stuff. That's all that's really going to happen. And that may be a reason why these people want to get out too, because some of these people are complicit with all this bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely. They are complicit with it, and there's probably some people that are also nervous in Congress about the Epstein files, because I would speculate that some of the people in those files are members of Congress. So that's another thing. But again, yeah, you're right. I mean, it very well could be that Congress is like basically ineffective for the next 3 years because they're not going to be able to move anything at all. And
Yeah.
the thought of a supermajorities, it's just not realistic. It's not. So,
Well,
but
we're
the,
coming.
the,
Go ahead.
there is a possibility that when the committees change, the investigations start, some people start being held accountable, arrests, they get subpoenaed. I don't know how many prosecutions there'll be because Pam Bondi is the most corrupt attorney general in the history of this country. But once these committees start bringing this information out, and I fully expect that a lot of it will be made public, they definitely want to shine the spotlight on the people that need it. But I wouldn't be surprised that the pressure becomes so great that if articles of impeachment come in, they get through the House, they'll push them through the Senate. Because I think at that point, even some of the Republicans in the Senate who have some common sense will realize that this is the right thing to do because they'll be smart enough to see the writing on the wall.
And we've already seen that with the vote in the House and the Senate. It's almost unanimous in both the House and the Senate
Right,
to release the Epstein files, because at that point you have to choose. Am
right.
I for releasing the files or against it? And if I'm against it, I'm going to have to deal with some shit. And these people just aren't willing to do that.
And I was shocked that it went to the Senate under unanimous consent. I
I
did
was too.
not expect that. So,
I think most
I
people thought it would get shut down.
yeah, I did. I definitely did. And the fact that they didn't have roll call on it was that really blew my mind. And it must be that Senate Republicans and Senate Democrats are having conversations over there. That's the only thing I can think of as why that they passed it in an instant with unanimous consent. Like the second it got there, they did it.
Yeah, it's weird. Now, as we're coming toward the end here, I just wanted to bring this up because people are talking about it. Three judges have said yes, release the grand jury transcripts from Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. Now, the DOJ asked them to do this. And my theory on this is that because grand jury transcripts aren't the whole trial, they're just basically rough information to see if somebody can get indicted. I think
Mhm.
they probably believe that Donald Trump's name specifically wasn't brought up. So they think that will clear him, which it won't.
Right.
But I think initially when they asked about this, they thought this might quell the demand for the Epstein files. I think all it will do is whip up the interest even more.
Absolutely. The grand jury records, they're nothing. They don't. They're very. All they're doing is trying to show a jury, look, there's criminality here. They don't get into any specific detail. They just want to be able to move forward with the prosecution. That's where all
Yeah.
the information comes out. And, I know that there's some pretty dumb motherfucking people in this country, but most people know that that information will be, in the actual court documents and the investigative documents and not the grand jury indictment. That doesn't make any sense. And I don't know why that's a strategy for them and why they think that that's going to fucking work. It's going to do the opposite.
It'll do the opposite. And the one thing that warms my heart that I know for a fact that if they want that stuff released, like I always say, they will fuck it up. They will
Oh, yeah.
always fuck it up for themselves. They'll make it worse. So whatever comes out, but no one should believe that this is the end all the information we need from the Epstein files. Do you think it gets released on the 19th like it's supposed to?
No, it won't.
I
It
don't
won't.
think so either.
I don't believe that at all. They'll come up with some fucking cockamamie reason that it's not going to be, oh, there's an investigation on some Democrats now. We can't release it. They're going to try to delay that thing to the bitter end. You know what I mean? Will they be able to get away with it? I don't know because Congress might actually have a set of balls and do something about it.
I almost don't care if it gets released because I think there's some value in the constant shitstorm and the distrust of the Republicans and all the rumors. I also think there will be things that leak out here and there, like the video that came out recently or the emails that came out from the Epstein estate.
Right.
Nobody's going to get away with this. But the longer they hold it back, especially when they've been ordered by law to do it, if they hold it back, that's just going to cause more distrust with the Republican Party. And I'm all for that. If it gets released tomorrow, and we know how people forget about things. I mean, fuck. They voted for Donald Trump even though they overturned Roe v. Wade. I'd rather have them stretch this out and make it a mess and make it worse and worse for themselves.
Right. Well, it's got to be destroying Trump inside. I
Yeah.
mean, it has to be. Can you imagine having that hanging over your head? Something that, that will ultimately destroy you? I mean, this is the end. I mean, this is it. And this is not the thing that I thought would be the end of Donald Trump, but it will be.
Whatever it takes. He said something to Marjorie Taylor Greene that she recounted. She said, if we release this, people will get hurt. And I thought that ironic. You're worried about people getting hurt that hurt a bunch of people. It's
Right.
not about people getting hurt. It's about your friends getting hurt, and you don't give a fuck about the people they hurt. It's just
Yeah.
fucking
They
ridiculous.
they hurt fucking kids. It's even
Yeah.
worse. Yeah.
And they're okay with that. They're
Yeah.
absolutely okay with it. All right. I'm going to wrap things up for the Rational Boomer podcast. I have a feeling you have to work tomorrow.
Of course.
I don't. Uh,
Of course.
so I'll get up when I get up. The first 3 days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, my wife and I babysit our grandson, who's 6 months old now. He's hilarious. I love hanging out with him.
Hmm.
Um, but it's still tough. I got to be in the spot at a certain time for a period of time. And he's about 27 pounds. And sometimes the only thing he wants is to be held. And 27 pounds after an hour, it gets a little difficult. So I try to get him distracted somehow. But my baby skills aren't quite what they were when I had kids myself. So I'm kind of learning as I go.
I see. Well, that's all right though. At least you're enjoying yourself. That's all that
Well,
matters.
I you know I told my wife, I said, I feel like a backup quarterback who rarely plays because there's mom. Mom is there because she works from the home. It gets really bad. Mom comes in, everything's cool. He loves his mom. When mom's not there, grandma's there. He loves grandma
Hmm.
because grandma's not mom, but she's pretty close, and grandma can calm him down. And and every time my daughter-in-law or my wife is holding him, it's always the same. He always looks over at me, gets this big smile on his face, and starts laughing. And I don't
Uh
know if I should take that as a positive or a negative, but he and I just so I'm just the goof off that is the comic relief apparently for watching this kid. But I'll take it. I'll take that. I think I'm the comic relief for my entire family for that matter. So
huh.
what
Well,
the
I think you're pretty entertaining. Let's just put it that way.
I appreciate that. Well, TJ, thank you for joining me today. I was going to do it alone, and I don't really like doing it alone, so I appreciate you coming on and babysitting me for an hour and a half.
Well, I like to be the random guest.
You come on. You certainly can come on more regularly if you like, but I know you have a bit of a schedule, and Rebecca has a schedule, and you work and all that stuff. You don't have the freedom I do, so I understand that.
Yeah, and you got so many good guests that I can't be on here all the time. You know what I mean? There's so many good ones that you could have that it would just I just feel like I'd get in the way.
Ah, no, 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 no. That's the thing about this show, and I've said it before. Doesn't matter who you are. If you listen to the show, you can be on the show. All you have to do is send the email to me or a text, and we'll put you on the show. And that's the one thing that has been amazing about the show is that every guest that I've had on ends up kind of fitting a little niche, creating their own little group of people that support them and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, I can't take credit for it, but I knew that if we got certain people on, they would do a great job and make the show better. So
Right,
um, I've been lucky with the guests; they're all good.
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And I enjoy coming on. I can't do it all the time, but when I can, I certainly will. Um, oh, speaking of text, don't forget to put your number out there so people listening can send you the
Oh
text.
yeah. What is my number?
Nine five
Hold
two
on.
522 1399.
How do you know it and I don't know it? Okay. 952-522-1399 by all means. And I really like the text. I get a lot of texts from people. I will say this. There are some people, I don't know if they're spam or they're just people, they will use that number to call me. I'm not taking calls. If I take calls, I'll never be able to do anything else. So just send the text. I'll respond either in the text or on the show or both. So that's all I can do. So anyway, for those of you listening, I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day and we will talk to you again tomorrow.